How can I automate sending Tanium reports to management? How can I audit what happens in the Tanium console? How can I use that rich Tanium data in my other enterprise systems? Find out today as we look at the Connect module. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks, folks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone, and today we're going to look at Tanium's Connect module because somehow we've never done a show on it. Believe that. Wow, it's been there from the beginning almost. It's great. It slices, it dices, it sends that rich Tanium data anywhere, anytime, as often as you like. It really is this sport utility vehicle of sorts. You think about this all-purpose vehicle, it can do anything. That's the Connect module. You can pack anything in there and send it anywhere you want it to go. And so today for that, I have a new first-time guest on our show. Her name is Shelly Sahani, and she is a director of technical product management for the Connect module. So welcome to the show, Shelly. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been at Tanium for about 6 years, and I've done various roles within that time. So I started off in the TAM organization. So I work with our customers in different verticals: financial, energies, technology, etc. And in those days, we had Connect. Connect is one of our early modules, but I also helped them operationalize all of our modules that existed. From there, I became a lead subject matter expert in Connect and API Gateway, along with some of our other modules. The focus today is Connect, so let's stick to that. Connect, the history on Connect is that it has been around at Tanium for a number of years. It is actually one of our oldest module, and internally, we refer to it as our mailman. So it takes the data from the source that you care about, and it sends it to wherever you want it to go, as you mentioned, as often as you would like, and we make that easy for you to do. So one of the things that has been a passion of mine is keeping the UI simple, and we work really hard to keep Connect simple. Next, I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what Connect is, how it works, and then we can get into that special announcement that we're all here for.
Yeah, one of the things that's amazed me over the years of working with Connect is just how much it does. It really is this many-to-many relationship. I mean, you think about it, all these different kinds of things it can take out of Tanium from anywhere in the world and send it to just about anywhere in the world. So I'm really excited for our viewers today who have not really gotten a taste of it. I've got one of my customers has been a customer for about a year of Tanium, and I said, so what are you guys doing with Connect? And I'm like, well, not really that much. And it's like, oh, but you got to see this. Look at all these cool things it can do. So by all means, take it away.
So we're on the landing page here of Connect. I'm going to walk through the different elements. Right when you come in, it's a one-page view of what you've already configured. And if you haven't configured, then this list down here will look a little bit lighter than mine. So this is my demo system. Down at the bottom, I can see a summary of how the connections are running, how many have got scheduled per hour, what their status is. So you can get a view in color and know quickly if things are going well, not going well as they were. And then the other charts here give you more insight into how much data you're sending, how much are you sending per hour, per day, how many bytes, etc. So let's dig into how to create connections next. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the connection create form. And simply in here, what we're looking for is information about the connection. So let's say we want to call this the Go-Tanium connection. And then give it a description. Oh, we're in April 2023. Maybe you want to put in some change control information in here. That's totally up to you. And then we're going to configure our source. So we've recently released the ability to do wonderful dashboards, and I'm happy to announce that that's also available in Connect to be used. So let's go down to Tanium reporting, reports and dashboards. We can select any dashboard that we've created, whether it's specific to a module that you work in, such as patch or general asset information. You can create those visuals. You can send them out as HTML to the destinations that you care about. So in here, I'm going to say, hey, I'm interested in certificate manager. So let's go ahead and select that. And then on the destination side, we have the ability to then send this out to AWS S3, email, or using Office 365 or SMTP. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is really like a choose your own adventure, because I saw on the list on the left of sources, there was a lot of things in there. And I'm seeing here, there's just a couple things, but I know depending on what you choose on the left, you get more to pick from on the right.
That's correct. So let's say we wanted to send client status, which is a platform-based source. So we can come in here and start to see the additional options that are available. This form, like I said, we tried to keep it simple. So we will give you the options that make sense for the data and the format that you've got the information in. Dashboard was our previous source that we selected, which is an HTML-based export. And the options available for that may not be something like a SIEM or a SOAR. In this case, client status data can be sent over as a JSON, and there are additional places that you can send it to. So we'll make those decisions for you so you don't have to sit there and try to figure out, like, what can I send to where?
Yeah, my memory is just flooding with all kinds of customer scenarios I've seen over the years, like threat response alerts, for example, like you mentioned, going to your SIEM. So there's so many different data sources coming out of Tanium. What are some of the most popular ones that people use?
The audit exports are quite popular, so we can come down here and take a look at Tanium audit source. So the industries that we work with have different regulations on how long we want to keep that data. And we allow you to export data such as audit data to a place that can be stored for whatever amount makes sense for your industry or your company.
Go ahead and click on that. I'd like people to see what's here. I mean, there's so much. I was just literally this week, I was walking my customer through this thing. Look, here's anybody that logs in anytime they authenticate to the console, right? Anytime they ask a question or take an action. And in threat response, particularly, I know I've seen where if somebody can have some remote control and get into live browsing on a system, you can audit all that stuff too. That's really phenomenal.
That's right. So if we go into event sources, we can pick the event source that we care about, but we can talk about reporting source. Instead of having to worry about how your reports are sent over in the format that they're sent over, you can first create those reports in the order that you're interested in receiving them in your third-party system. You can go ahead and select that report from in here. So for example, I picked reports and dashboards. Let's go to reports, source data. We can pick any report that's available to you either out of the box that we provide to get you started, or any custom reports that you have created. For example, if I wanted to know which applications or what software inventory exists on my Windows systems, I can come in here and select that report and then send that out to any destination that I choose in the format that I choose.
That's so nice. I know there's, how many different data formats are there, right? There's JSON and XML, all these different destination formats. And depending on what you're doing, sometimes there's syslog, there's all kinds of formats. And once you send it over, SQL servers, will automatically generate a schema. It's really slick what you've done. And I appreciate the fact that you're emphasizing the simplicity of the interface.
In some cases, it makes sense to send over live question data. So save question source is another popular option for our customers. You can come in here and again, look at all of the information that's available from endpoints that are online right now. And let's say I wanted to do something related to software again. Maybe I wanted to look at Microsoft SQL Server software information. I can come down here, select the destination that I want to send it to. Maybe I want to send it to Microsoft Sentinel, which is done through Log Analytics. And then I can come down here and select the format that I'm interested in. And it turns out that Log Analytics prefers JSON. So again, we've made that decision for you. So let's say I wanted to send to a generic socket destination. So a socket receiver, and I provide the information for that socket destination. Then I can come in here and see the different formats that are available, such as Ceph, CSV, HTML, JSON, and syslog, as you mentioned. Pretty easy to do.
Nice. I had a customer who had QRadar, and I think we used Leaf format, and there was some it's just amazing. Again, the Swiss Army knife here of how many different formats and sources and destinations you can pick from.
Absolutely. Once you've figured out which source in the format that you want sent to which destination that you prefer to send it to, then you come down here and all you have to do is set a schedule. And this is where we really do care about improving efficiencies in your day-to-day. So you've set this up once and you want it to go out to your teams, let's say once a week on a Monday. So they have a status report on the project that you all are working on. You can come in here and say, hey, I would like to send this one run per day on select days of the week as an option. And then you can come in and select which days you prefer. Maybe you just want that to go out on a Monday and final check on the Friday. So you come in here and you set that up. And maybe you want this at 9 a.m. or just after lunch. You have the option to choose that, and you have the ability to then go ahead and run that right away or save it, and it will run on its next schedule that you've set up. You don't have to enable the schedule if you want it to just send it once. We have the ability to do that as well. Just uncheck that. Again, keeping it simple. Save it, and off you go.
So this takes us back then to scheduling these. And I think when you took us in on the front page of the Connect module at the bottom, there were some of those charts to show like when those jobs were running. And I see some green and red down here. What do I need to look at to know what's healthy and what needs attention?
That's right. So once you set up your connection, one or many of them, then you have the ability to, at a quick glance, see what is running, what is well, when it last ran, and we give you a colored indicator of whether it needs attention, if something did not work right, or it did succeed, and that will give you a green. If you wanted to take a look at the entire view holistically, we also offer a schedule view where you can come in and see, hey, when is that thing running again? But something like this here, we can see, hey, my Splunk asset report has ran successfully, when it last ran, how much data did it send, etc. And I go back to connections. I can also then filter on which items are successfully running. So last run status is finished, and it is an enabled connection. Enabled connection, as I mentioned earlier, are the ones with a schedule. Now, that doesn't apply to all connections. If we've got something like a report or audit, those can be scheduled. Hey, send this out at a certain frequency. But then there are event type connections, which cannot be scheduled because they fire when the event happens, and you can't predict that. So for example, if you've got a threat response alert that needs to go out to a third-party destination, that would be something that you cannot schedule and therefore would not apply. And then you can, if you know you're only interested in the connections that you've created and your team is using Connect, for example, you can do further filtering up at the top here and show just your connections, the ones that are recently ran. You can filter them by text, etc. So there are little improvements that we've added into the workbench, so you filter down to the information that you care about, but still trying to keep that simplicity in mind. I come in to my workday. I'm interested in seeing what reports have been sent out, what reports need to be sent out. We make that pretty easy to do on a single page.
I wanted Shelly to come tell you about this because look at all these cool things it can do, right? And I just think about the practicality of how much time this can save you. Your manager asks for these reports all the time. You can just craft that up in the new reporting and dashboards, right, that you've got there in the top of the menu there. Just go build that report once and then schedule it to go as an email with that nice HTML. It's really slick too. I mean, when they get this HTML email, it's interactive and they can see all the data right there. And so, I mean, what's not to love? I mean, it's great for scheduling that stuff, and it saves you a lot of time, just like Shelly said. So Shelly, now I want to get to this big announcement. So I know we've been able to send emails for years, but the landscape of how you send an email has changed. How have we accommodated
I would agree with
that?
Yeah. I would agree with that. So the typical standard that we've been used to and have grown to love and hate has been SMTP. We've sent emails in the past, and you saw a little bit of preview there as I was showing you Connect of the ability to send emails using SMTP. SMTP has probably been around for longer than I have. And over the years, it has tried to improve in the way it operates, making it more secure. We've also found that the port requirements for SMTP have changed over the years. So in the early days, it was just port 25. Then we added in 465, 587. Some people even use 2525. And managing those port exceptions in your proxy or firewall can then also be a challenge. So it's grown over the years to accommodate for things that we're learning about emails, for example. But we've come to a point now where spam is an issue, integrity of those emails are an issue. So we need to rethink the way we do emails. And at Tanium, we've been taking feedback from our customers very seriously on how we can improve sending emails. So I'm happy to announce today that we are now supporting Office 365 emails as a destination. They do use modern auth, and we are utilizing Microsoft Graph. This is not an SMTP-based email delivery system. We are switching over to HTTP over port 443. So your port requirements have been managed, and Microsoft has amazing security built around the use of Graph, so we can utilize that to send emails more securely. I'd love to walk you through that next if you're interested.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, because I mean, that I'm just thinking, so, okay, the port restrictions are nice because now everybody is going to allow 443 through, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. But now I'm just thinking about the complexity of how do I configure this automated process in the background to get to my Microsoft instance without, me having to put in a password or a two-factor or something. I'm really curious to see how you do that.
Absolutely. So again, keeping the theme of simplicity in mind, the way that we've designed emails here is we've centralized email configuration. So we call them email profiles. You can set them up once. You can assign the email profiles as an RBAC permission for users, and then they just select the email profiles they have access to, then off we go. So enough talking, let me actually walk you through it. Up at the top right, Connect has a settings page. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and bring you over to the email profile page. So once you get to a create profile page, what you're going to see is, again, very similar UI to what we do in creating connections. You give it a name. Let's call it 0365. We give it a description for patch team. It could be for the comply team. It could be for everyone. Some of our customers are in an M&A situation where they've inherited infrastructures from multiple acquisitions. You can create one or multiple profiles depending on what your situation is. So in here, we provide the protocol Office 365. This is a start for improving emails. If there are additional protocols that you want us to use, additional destinations you want us to look into, absolutely looking for that feedback. Anyway, let's continue on. So in this case, the email server profile will ask for tenant ID, and client secret. So this is the part where we're starting to move away from basic auth and SMTP, which was username and password. What we found that the problems with SMTP is using basic auth has been falling out of favor with the industry. That's typically not what people want to use anymore. We have the ability to register applications that need to be used, external applications in Microsoft Graph. So in this case, when you register an application in Microsoft Graph, you will be provided with the tenant ID, and client secret. In order to get this information, you probably have to work with your Office 365 admin to get that information. And don't worry, we've documented all of the steps, so you can send them over to our documentation site or our community site, and we can give you all of the information that you're going to need to set it up in Azure if that's what you wanted to do next. and you can follow this instruction. So the downside is it is a bit involved on the Microsoft side to get this set up. The upside is we tell you how to do it. And once that information is available, you really only have to do it once. So once this is set up, it's ready to go and ready to use. With this,
set it and forget it. Love it.
Set it and forget it. That's right.
Yeah.
And you can select which user you want to send it to. I recommend using a service account here. And that keeps things simple. So you can restrict the permissions of this application to be used to that service account. So keep that in mind. You can send out a test email. This is also a new feature in Connect. So once you're ready to go with your information, before you go through the hassle of setting up a connection, you can figure it out first, that if there's any network connectivity issues, those can be resolved. And then another new thing that we've added in is content sets. This is our first foray into adding content sets into Connect. So there's lots of firsts here with this email improvement project. You can, as I said, set this up in a content set that's out of the box, that's Connect and available to everyone that has access to Connect. Or you can specify your own content sets and really control which profile is available to which member or which team that needs to send out these emails.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what we call RBAC 2 in Tanium land. So that's the next step of RBAC, where now you can control, if you've set up this email configuration, maybe you don't want just anybody that uses Tanium able to send emails to anybody in the world, right? So maybe that's a good idea then to explore the RBAC capabilities. So you've thought of everything, it sounds like.
That's right. And the RBAC controls apply on the source as well. So the information that the user has access to from the endpoints that it has access to will go to the destination, in this case, the email profile that they have access to. It's really not thinking about RBAC at the end stage, but throughout the data export pipeline. So continuing on with adding efficiencies to your day, what do you do with this email destination that you've set up? So I'm going to go back into the Connect Create form. We're going to go ahead and give it a name. The Go-Tanium is what we're going with today. This is email. So we select our source. Again, my favorite source these days is the Tanium reporting dashboards. Visuals are just so much easier to consume than rows and rows of CSV data. I'm hoping I'm not the only one in that opinion. All right, so let's pick a report. We're gonna stick to Certificate Manager today. It's a really cool capability that allows you to view your certificates when they're expiring and how to manage them. So if you haven't checked that out, I would also check that out. And then head over to Office 365. So if you remember, we set up a profile and we gave it a name, Office 365 email using Microsoft Graph. That's the one that's set up in this environment. So that's the one it will default to. I'm going to give it a name and say, hey, I'm going to send over the Cert Manager. We can come in here and select the user if there are multiple. So in this case, SBC test is the one that is associated to this profile. So it will be selected for us. We give it a subject. In this case, we can say something generic like Tanium notification and the source, and it will pick up what source it is. But I probably want to give it a real name. So Cert Manager. And I have the ability to add in dates here. So let's say I wanted to add in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I can set this up every week. It will give it a date that it ran. So you can schedule it. You can start to see how we're simplifying that, adding little efficiencies to your day so you don't have to come back in and do this all over again. So we're going to send this as an HTML format. So give that format and send our to address. It could be team name. In fact, what you can actually do here is send it to a Teams channel. If you didn't know, every Teams has a channel available. Every Teams channel has an email available. And that is something that you can utilize here. And that's some of the cool use cases that I've learned from our customers that they're doing. So team name, team channel, whichever one you wanted to use, at companyname.com. And it will be then sent out with this subject line. The other new item that we've added in is the ability to customize body with your email. So you can say something like weekly, Tanium Connect data is attached. If you wanted to send that as the body, you can unselect the attachment. In the case of HTML, I would recommend attachments so you can download them, play around with them. So let's do that. Give it a name. We'll probably use something similar here. Of course, you can give it a different subject if you wanted to. You can give that a name as well to the file. And then you set your schedule. Again, you can get advanced, use your own cron if you wanted to, or you can use a simple drop-down menu here, multiple runs every day, or as we did earlier, select days of the week, Monday and Friday, and then save and run. And that's it.
That is wonderful. I mean, I'm just thinking about, all the years of spreadsheets and sending spreadsheets around and how long it takes to pull data from all these different sources, point solutions around the enterprise. And this is converged endpoint management. This is what Tanium does. You've got one agent to rule them all. It's got all this data to pick from. Take any of that data you want, schedule it to go out, however often do you want to, whoever needs to see it. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And talk a little bit about the HTML experience. So old school HTML guy here, when I'm thinking of an HTML attachment, it's just like flat static. But explain a little bit about how these things are even interactive.
Absolutely. But you can come into dashboards, and what we're doing is allowing you to either export through the dashboard. So I'm going to pick the first one here, asset discovery and inventory. And in here, you can come in and say, download as HTML. Once you do that, let's try it live. It will take the existing dashboard that's here and make that available to us in our downloads. So once we've downloaded the HTML export, you can bring that in. So if you wanted to do it manually, you wanted to see what it looks like in your emails, you can come into a dashboard and see that. And then once you're in this HTML export, you have the ability to get additional information. So this is actually interactive. And
that
this
is so
exactly
cool.
I know. And this is exactly what you will be sending out to your team or your superiors. And then they don't have to come and ask you, what's the status of project X? You can set this up and send it to them weekly.
So for example, Windows 11 migration. I want to know what's my Windows 11 migration status. And you just put all that stuff into your report, your dashboard, and just email it out. And they get this nice, rich interface, which, I mean, if you didn't know better, you'd think you were staring straight at the Tanium console. I mean, you don't have to grant them access even and explain that to them. Just send them this report. This is great.
It's phenomenal. I'm really impressed with the dashboarding team. And you can create custom dashboards with panels, size them how you want. Add in additional contextual information, additional text about that report if you wanted to add that in, and then send that over through Connect.
You're really a great salesperson for the dashboards. Yeah, I've been playing with them just this morning even, and I'm impressed as well. It's so flexible the way you can build those reports.
And a good place to start would be the ones that we provide out of the box, and we give updates to every so often. So take those, you can clone them and make them your own, really. Add additional panels in there, remove the ones that are not relevant, and really customize them to your OCD desires.
So I'm looking at the time here. We're just about out of time. Anything else you want to show before we wrap up?
I do, yes. Thank you. So I'm going to switch over to our community article. I alluded to this earlier. Please do check that out if you haven't yet, on how to set up Office 365. If you are interested in emailing to a Teams channel, that information is also available in the Microsoft Docs. It really is very simple. You go to the more options ellipses next to the channel name, and you can get the email address from there. And if you haven't done this yet, what I would highly recommend you to do next is setting up health information for Connect to go out to a place that makes sense. So we talked about events earlier. In this case, events are also available in Connect, where you can say, hey, anytime a connection fails that I am relying on, I would like to be alerted about it. If I don't come into the Connect workbench every day, at least I can get an email about it, or I can go to a Teams channel, and then I can come back in here and take a look and make sure all things are running as they should, and they're healthy, and fix the problems before they become too big.
So Shelly, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, Ashley.
Yeah, this is just another great tour of something that's been around at Tanium for a long time and just continues to get better quietly in the background without a lot of attention. But wow, does it solve some real business challenges? So we'll have a summary of that all here on the takeaway slide coming up. And in the show notes below, we've got those links that Shelly mentioned to docs, out to the community article, to that how to email teams article, a number of resources for you there. So thanks for joining us on Tanium Tech Talks today. And until next time, go Tanium.